Welcome to the Citizen Channel and match report. I thought I'd wear the shirt that obviously a time when games against Leeds United were flipping big events. We even had little shows before the matches at Main Road where we had Alsatians jumping over big fences and brass bands and you name it. We used to have it when we played Leeds because it was always a big game. It wasn't such a big game last night from league positions, but atmosphere-wise, I thought City fans were excellent last night. Excellent to brilliant last night. Obviously, it helps when you score a couple of early goals, you get the fans behind you. And great atmosphere last night for a game against a team that's near the bottom of the league. I'll say that all the time. Yeah, we're going to talk about an interesting game, aren't we? City 7, Leeds United 0. Yes, 7. SEVEN 7. Yes, 14th of December 2021 at the ETIHAD. Of course, let's have a look at the lineups. Who demolished? Who put half the team did put the ball in the Leeds net. There's no Walker. I'm not too sure what's happened there. I've had a quick look this morning. I couldn't see if he's injured or he's got a niggle. He's probably got a niggle, like we've all got niggles, haven't they? And obviously I'd give Sterling the nod because I thought he was back in favour with Pep, but obviously he didn't start in the game either. So I got 9 out of the 11 in my predictions, so that wasn't too bad. Edison, Stones, Diaz, Laporte, Zinchenko, so you've got to assume Stones was playing on the right, which he was for most of the game. Interesting to say the least. Rodri, Bernardo, KDB, Foden, Grealish and Mahrez. And on the bench, no Carson, so whether he's something similar to Walker. I don't know what's happened with Carson. Usually stick Carson and Stefan on the bench. Stefan, Aki, Sterling, Gundogan, Jesus, Ferner, Egan, Riley, Palmer and Wilson, Esbrand. Leeds, yes. Well, I got all 11 guys again. I mean, I seems to do that quite a lot with the away teams. I got all 11 right, a full house. Meslier, Dallas, Ayling, Llorente, Firpo, Shackleton, Forshaw, Rafinha, Harrison, James and Roberts. Yeah, I mean, with all the injuries and stuff, it more or less, as long as the fit picks itself, to be honest with you. Who's in charge, of course, or who was in charge, of course, Paul Tierney. Yeah, nothing too bad to say about the ref last night, to be honest with you, but in them sort of games, it'd be very hard to be critical, wouldn't it, to be honest with you? VAR, we had Darren England on VAR. He did rule out one goal, didn't he? Right, match report. I'll probably stick it to just a goal report, guys. It could go on forever. There was, before the goal started flying, not my hero and our hero at the moment, Bernardo missed an absolute sitter inexplicably. Yeah, he put a shot wide. All right, it was his wrong foot, but he thought it looked easier to score than put it wide, and he put it 2 or 3 yards wide. But it wasn't long after that when on 8 minutes, Foden made it 1-0. And it all led from never get past Rodrigo. He's magic, you know. Never get past Rodrigo. So there we go. He barged his way through. And Meslier did an okay block, but unfortunately it came back to Foden, whose shot was on target, but he wasn't overly powerful. And poor Mr. Dallas, who was their hero last season, wasn't he, in the 2-1 win at the Etihad? He sort of sliced it into his own net. Pretty poor defending, to be honest. He should have done better. He had a bit of time. I know he's sort of tracking to his side, and then he tried to clear it with his right foot and just sliced it into the goal. But there you go, 1-0 for City. 13 minutes, it was 2-0. I think this is Grealish's first header in the top division, isn't it? First header he scored. Amara's cross was cleared, but then it eventually worked its way back to him. And of course, our £100 million man Jack Grealish was there to power in a header, fouling Laporte on the way, but VAR didn't pick up on that, so we're all right. He fouled Laporte, and great header into, fantastic. Lots of power, even though he's on about 6 yards out or something like that. Fantastic. So it's 2-0. 3-0, 32 minutes. Yeah, KDB, wasn't it? Rodri possession into space down the left channel for KDB to hit home at the near post. The keeper was perhaps a little bit badly positioned. Obviously, KDB just put his foot through it and it went pretty much through the keeper, didn't it, in that inside of the post. So it's 3-0 at half-time. Obviously, game over. Leeds haven't really shown much. I'm struggling to remember anything they did on the front foot to get past our midfield, to be honest with you. Obviously, a slight niggle with Bernardo, who got replaced at half-time by Gundogan, because there's a problem. Pep never subs anyone at half-time unless there is a problem. So we're hoping it's not too serious with that. 49 minutes, it's 4-0, of course, with Mahrez. Grealish down the left, played it inside for Gundogan, who sort of plays just a simple ball across. And Mahrez took a shot. It wasn't going to beat the keeper, but fortunately for us, or unfortunately for Leeds, it took a deflection off Firpo and just left the keeper flat-footed and went into the far corner. Dallas did have a chance. He almost made up for that error earlier on with a shot from distance that glanced the outside of Ederson's post. I don't think Ederson was getting to it. He was fairly well beaten if it had been 2 or 3 inches slightly inside. 55 minutes, Ferner came on for Rodri. 62 minutes, it was 5-0. KDB. Grealish's foot looked just a little high when he won the ball. There was no complaints from Leeds, and the referee played on. So he fed Gundo, who fed KDB fairly central, about 30 yards out. He gave himself 5 or 6 yards to run into and just let fly. And the keeper was well beaten. He dived, but I mean, he more or less dived under it. It was a good 2 or 3, 4 feet higher than his hand was reaching. So it was absolutely done. I love that. I mean, I used to play in goal myself, and sometimes you do a dive and you know you're not going to get to it, but you have to do a dive anyway. And that's what he did. So that was 5-0. 65 minutes, Aki came on for Diaz to give him a rest. Stones then obviously made it 6-0, didn't he? Oh, wonderful John Stones. I'll get my little pun in here now. If you know about ex-Leeds players, you'll enjoy that. Well, you won't enjoy it. You'll just groan, but I'll have to get it in. Further down the left crosses, a Laporte header. Yeah, I mean, Stones and Laporte were getting in the box for fun. It's kept out by the keeper, who also keeps out the first effort from John Stones. It's a right-footed effort, but it fell back to Stones, who then hammered on, who had a second bite of the Trevor cherry, as we say. Still like that? You see what I did there? Sorry, guys. I slammed it home with his left foot. Yeah, I'll have to get that into another couple of podcasts and make everyone else groan as well. Sorry about that. Second bite of the Trevor cherry. If you know anything about Leeds, yeah, you'll know what I'm talking about. Aki completed the route, of course, on 78 minutes, 7-0. Foden deepest drop, but just a bit past the 6-yard line. But I mean, he rose sort of unchallenged. Leeds' defence wasn't challenging much all night, was it? And he completed this hammering with his head at 7-0. And yeah, perhaps it should have been 10. Who knows? But 7-0, 41 points. It looks as though we're up anyway. It looks as though we're safe from relegation. So that's another plus point for us. And a special mention for Pep, of course, who became the quickest manager to reach 500 Premier League goals for his team. Fantastic. Key stats, yeah, shots for City, 31. 31 shots, 15 on target. That's not bad. Not bad. We'll go for that every game, eh? Leeds, 6 shots, 3 on target. Yeah, that's a couple more than I remember, to be honest with you, on target. Possession was 65% for City. Pass completion, 91% for City, just 80 for Leeds. Right, onto the MEN ratings and my ratings. I'll give you Mr. Stuart Brennan's first of all. My basic score is 7, so there's no guy got less than 7 last night. I'm going to mark it as a great team effort overall against not the greatest team, or a team that allows us to play football. Let's be honest about it. I know Bielsa was a bit critical, wasn't he? But we'll talk about that in a minute. So everyone's going to get at least a 7, and those who played better will get increases on 7. It does go up to 9 today, so there you go. That shows but I've not been over generous, I don't think. Right, Stuart Brennan, Ederson had to deal with sporadic counter-attacks, but no real saves to make, stayed neat. So Stuart should give him a 6. I suppose if that's his base, that's fair enough. I've just given him a 7 as my base. He was beaten only the once, but it glanced off the post. But let's face it, Leeds were pretty rubbish up top, to be honest with you. It's causing too much problems. John Stones, Stuart says, solid dominant display at right back, and he capped it off with a rare goal. Give him a 7. Yeah, I've actually given him a 7.5, but he did look a bit unsure. He was looking around sometimes, wondering where the Leeds player was. And certainly in that second half, I noticed it more, because obviously he was defending the end where I'm at. And yeah, he looked a bit unsure, but hey, Barnes, the lad, he scores against Leeds. What more can he ask? So I'll give him a 7.5. As I say, I wasn't as complimentary as Stuart Brennan, but he did a great job considering he was asked to play there. Let's be honest about it. Ruben Diaz, Stuart said, little defending to do, so he took to making little forays deep into Leeds territory to good effect. So give him a 7. Yeah, I have to give him a 7.5. Similar to the Wolves game, he got a bit more freedom to roam forward. And I think he thoroughly enjoyed himself, did what he had to do defensively, and he was great. I'm Eric Laporte. Stuart said, not much defending to do, so he contented himself with launching dangerous City attacks down the left-hand side and nearly scored. Yes, so Stuart's given him a 7. Again, I'll give him a 7.5. like Diaz, he loved his rampages forward. He's a bit more effective at his passing and was involved a lot in and around the Leeds box. So, again, another player, a lot of City players enjoyed themselves last night. Alex is a familiar thread throughout this. Alex Zinchenko, Stuart said, always on the front foot and a Cancelo-esque display. Not quite. Didn't put a foot wrong. So he gave him 8. 8, that's good, isn't it? I mean, I have given 7.5 again, but another one who just enjoyed it. But I wouldn't have thought I wouldn't have thought it's any better than people like Laporte and Diaz, to be honest with you, Stuart. But there you go. Rodri, Stuart said, quite brilliant in the first half. He was creating the first, assisting the third, and bossing the 45 minutes, giving the deserved rest. So he's given an 8, Stuart. I'll have to echo, give him an 8 as well. I mean, he's got his own song now. I'm not going to sing it again for you. Obviously, it took me a minute just to guess. All right, it's an old new song. It's a new old song, isn't it? But hey, anything for the players. I mean, there's certain players still haven't got one after playing for us for years, so I'm happy with that. He thrived, especially as Stuart said in that first 45 minutes. His magic, you never get past Rodrigo, so that's all there is to it, really. KDB. 2 fabulous goals, says Stuart. Set up half a dozen chances for others. He is definitely back. Well, we can't say that based on one game, but let's hope so. Stuart's given him a 9. Yes, I have echoed that. I give him a 9. I think he loved it out there. The space, the freedom. As I say, no disrespect to Leeds, but they did try and play football. But you've got to show a bit of battling. You've got to close players down a bit quicker and stuff. It's all right to play nice little fancy flicks, which I noticed they did, but. Yeah, for that full 90 minutes, Kev absolutely loved it. Great stuff. Bernardo Silva, Stuart said his shimmy and nutmeg was the first half highlight, and he was given a rest after another sound 45 minutes. Well, it wasn't perhaps a rest, perhaps he had a niggle. So Stuart's given him a 9. I'm sorry, no, I can't give my hero Bernardo a 9. I'll give him a 7.5. I thought it was okay. It was a bad miss, don't get me wrong, but he got over it and he's ran his little circles and created and fought. So I can't give him it. I think Stuart's gone a bit mad there with half a game and give him 9. I think that's just a little bit too much, I think, Stuart. Riyad Mahrez, Stuart said, grabbed the goal, assisted Grealish brilliantly, teed up Gundogan for the near miss and was a menace throughout. Yeah, so give him a 9. He's happy with the 9, Stuart, isn't he? Yeah, I'd give him an 8. I thought it was excellent. Another who thrived with the space he was given by Leeds and looked much better. A bit fortunate with the goal, but hey, at least he got the shot in, which wasn't great. But if you get shots in the box, there's a chance he'll get a deflection and go in as well as going wide. So all good for Riyad. Phil Foden started the route with a goal, said Stuart. Led the line beautifully and was unlucky not to add to his tally. So again, Stuart's given him a 9. Yep, another 9 from Stuart. 8.5 from me. More like the old Phil, that was it. Like KDB had a comeback last night. Phil Foden's back. I mean, not that he's been bad. He's just obviously just been a little bit of something lacking. So let's hope he goes on to produce these games all the time now, which we know he can, and he has done in the past, and hopefully any little niggles have been sorted. Jack Grealish, Stuart said, Harry Kane like header answered his criticism. He did, well, yeah, okay. And he deserved that goal for an excellent contribution. He certainly did. Stuart's given him a 9 again. I think Stuart's got stuck on 9 with the forwards and forward-thinking midfielders, hasn't he? I'm going to give him an 8.5. I'm not much behind. I thought all the stick he's been getting, he set off like a scolded cat. He even looked as though he's slightly quicker. Perhaps he's doing some sprint training with Moonchester. I'm not too sure, but he even looked a little bit quicker to me, Jack Grealish. So another one who enjoyed the space, and as I say, for that fantastic headed goal, and he contributed throughout, to be honest with you. The subs, yeah, Gundogan came on at half-time, of course. Stuart said picked up where Bernardo left off, so he's given him an 8. Yeah, I'll give him a 7.5. A bit more simple than Gundogan, but Bernardo, but he got involved, effective. And again, it was, I think, a little bit better from him as well. I don't think he's been playing that well. He's one of the guys that I think has been carried for a lot of the games this season when he has played, but a little bit better from him. It's good to see. It's good to see, isn't it? Ferrandino for Rodri on 55, a superb 45 minutes. Well, I think he had 45 minutes, did he? He got 35 minutes plus injury time. Stuart's given him an 8, and I give him a 7.5. Yeah, all right. Slight discrepancy to Rodri's performance, but not much. And that's a bit more like the old Ferrandino, but the sort of game he probably thrives in and enjoyed contributing to be honest with you. Nathan Aki for Diaz on 65. A nice header, said Stuart. He's giving 7. That's a bit mean, Stuart, because it was a nice header. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong, and he scored a great headed goal, so I'll give him 7.5, even though he's only on for about 25 plus change. So slotted in perfectly for me. Man of the match, yeah, there's a few, wasn't there? I mean, it's a great team performance last night, but I have to give it KDB because that's more like the old KDB you want to see. They say he thrived on it, and we want to see more of that. And hopefully, this is it now. Hopefully, this is it for the last half of the season, or just over half of the season. We'll see more performances from KDB like that. Fingers crossed. Our overall record against Leeds at home now in the top division, in league games, sorry, not top division, in league games is played 49, won 27, drawn 9, lost 13, scored 92 and let in 49. So that increased quite a lot. Leeds going forward, yeah, I think. Well, I mean, the first, before we scored, I mean, it's only, 5 minutes? you could see it. I think even when we scored that first one, there's a bit of a swagger to the way Leeds play. I mean, there's a bit of an arrogance about Leeds, which transposes itself to the fans as well. I've noticed that, certainly on social media. And I noticed it last season. And all right, rightly so, they beat us and drew with us last season, so they probably had some reason to do it. But they do have an arrogance about Leeds, and I'm not sure where it comes from. Even back in history, yes, they were very, very good, these times. But yeah, overall, I don't know where that arrogance comes from. Perhaps it's being in a city where there's only one team, so they don't have to put up with much rubbish. But I'm sure there's a fair sprinkling of United fans over there and stuff like that. But yeah. They do try to play football, but the passing game really broke down because under City's pressure, they couldn't cope with it. I mean, against Chelsea, I mean, they seem to set themselves up similarly, but obviously they're playing a different animal when they play City to what they played Chelsea. And once City sensed blood, which was what we did in that first few minutes, we sort of went for it. But Leeds never tried to really change what they do. And I don't think Bielsa, a bit like Pep, once he's made his decision with the team, all right, they've got injuries, of course they've got problems, but would another 2 or 3 guys coming back and made much difference last night? They just leave themselves so open. And I say against a team of City when we're in the mood, you've got no chance. Bielsa did comment that this was, in 4 years, was his team's worst display. I think there's a bit of both, actually. I think City were very, very good. And I think Leeds, were a bit off par. But again, as I said, they played the same team more or less as they did last time. So he is relying on the same sort of players. So we know it ourselves with our squad. Players do get tired. So it's all right, Bielsa saying we didn't play, but there are reasons for it. And as I say, they do play good football. They do knock it about. They do work hard normally. So it must have an effect on them. So, yeah, I think, as I say, I think their poor showing was involved. Of course it was. But I think City were just at it on the night. And once City are at it, not many teams in the world can stick with City once we're at it. But there you go. I mean, the defensively, Leeds were awful. So much space for our forwards and midfielders to get into, and it was man-to-man marking, I think. But obviously, they didn't get very close to the men. I mean, they sit fifth from bottom. They will have to do something, tighten up. I don't know what Bielsa's ideas got, whether they got any guys to come back fantastic in defence for them, but I did notice in the championship, when they won the championship a couple of seasons ago, the defence was awful. It seemed to improve last year, but they were quite good going forward as well. So that took some of the pressure off. But this season they have been struggling, and I say injuries to key players, but yeah, there's far bigger problems there, I think, and they should stay up. But with that sort of performance last night, I say you need some players to get a chance for a rest. So whether they'll be able to get it, I'm not too sure. All right, they're not in any European competitions or anything like that. But yeah, they need players back and they need players to rest. But it could be a problem for Leeds. I think they'll be all right, but there's no guarantees. Say at the fifth bottom at the moment, there's probably a couple of those teams in the bottom 5 I think might do better than Leeds in the second half of the season. So we'll have to see. As far as us, yeah, masterful, wasn't it? You can only beat what's in front of you. Say Leeds are the ideal team for City to play if we're on form, because of the way they try and play football, which is all credit to him. But when you've got Laporte and Stones regularly going into the opponent's box, not just for corners, but on basic attacks from normal outfield play, then you can see there's a problem with the team you're playing, and City are in the ascendancy, of course. And of course, that performance for KDB and Foden, hopefully, fingers crossed, is a start of something good for those two guys. Now, we haven't been quite at it, and players like, as I said, there's been 4 or 5 City players, I think, carrying us this season, and they include people like Walker and Cancelo, who weren't even on the pitch last night. So it's good to some of these other guys to step up and take some responsibility. So let's take this confidence into the Newcastle game who don't have the tightest of defences either, but it's at their place. So we'll have to quieten them quite early. Although I don't, I think there's a lot of fakeness about that as well. I don't think they're the best, noisiest fans in the world, but people say they are, but I don't think they are, to be honest with you. But let's take any sting out of their support on Sunday and early doors, and let's hope for a good victory there. Well, there we go, guys. Let me know what you thought. Anyway, let me know your player ratings as well. Anyone, as I say, it's I've not had a chance to look back at anything. It was just being there on the night, and I don't always see the angles from where I am in the south stand. So always please accept that's how I've done the player ratings, and they are slightly different to Stuart on some players. So there you go. I've not tried to be too over the top because I thought overall it's a great team performance, and I didn't want to isolate too many players with 9 out of 10s because I think that was a bit unfair, but obviously Stuart did. But let me know your thoughts, guys, on last night. And please join me as we look forward to this trip to Newcastle. Of course, the History Boys feature will be out. A trip to Kevin Keegan's Newcastle Coca-Cola Cup game in December, but around about the same time. So that was an interesting one. A Coca-Cola Cup replay back in 1994 with Mr. Keegan in charge of Newcastle. But all good stuff for City that night. So have a check of that if you can. That's fantastic. And please check out my odds and preview shows as and when they're available. So make sure you got the notification button pushed. Give us your thumbs up. Anyway, thanks for joining, guys. What are you going to do rest day? Have a great one. Look after yourselves, look after your friends, look after your family. More importantly, let's all look after each other. To me here again on the Citizen channel. Or you want to have a little break from football, please check out my film and TV stuff as well. Do reviews and information vlogs on cinema releases, what's out to buy, etc., etc. So have a look on there. Give us a thumbs up on there as well, guys. I don't quite get as many on there as I do on the football. I get lots of views, but I don't get as many thumbs ups. Probably because I don't like my reviews. I'm not too sure. I'm sure it's not that. Anyway, but if you can get on there, brilliant. Love to see you on there. But if it's back here on the Citizen channel, I only have one thing, don't I, guys? Please stay safe, Blues. Come on, City. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.